It's a quick cut. I have the most minimal of broadcasting tools here, so you have to help me out. You know, going to patreon.com and supporting our cause, and hopefully won't be broadcasting from our room anymore. Okay. When last we left, which was tutorial number 2, I believe, we were doing sketches of my comic strip, which is Frankensteinway, as you can see here. It's basically Count Dracula and Frankenstein who lose their jobs in Hollywood and are forced to live in the real world and basically deal with the same problems you and I all deal with. That kid on the right, well, she comes to the picture later, but you'll have to figure it out. I'll make more videos down the line and show you who's who, and basically, you know, define the characters in the story even more. Hopefully, we'll be posting more, and if you guys want to follow us, we are located in these sites. We're also on Patreon, as you can see in the link. No more ums. And I did it again. Well, let's begin, shall we? When we first started, we were doing a rough sketch of the comic strip, and we finished off by turning the opacity down to about 25%. Today we're gonna draw on a different layer above it and do the inks and try to make it look like at least a brush or a real life brush instead of a digital brush. One of the problems I always saw on digital art was when someone drew or painted in digital art, it looked like it. So I've always admired brushstrokes from Jeff McNally and Bill Watterson, of course, and Walt Kelly. And I wanted to replicate that on my strips as much as possible. So from the last tutorial, I showed you how I made my brush, and now I'm gonna utilize it. Okay, let's begin. On the right side here, let me do the full screen. There you go. On the right side here, you can see me scrolling up and down. There's the layers window. Right now we're on the trace layer, and this layer, you can see as it turns off and on, is our guide. And we're going to jump to the layer called final. Final is at 100%, and basically this is where we do the inks. Alright, first thing we got to do is make sure we turn off these blue lines. From the very first tutorial, I showed you that these things can be set to snap. So if I drew diagonally or drew a circle, whenever it touched the blue lines, it'll snap and try to create a straight line depending on the orientation of the blue line. So in order to eliminate that, we go to Windows, actually View, and we clear the guides. That's one option, but that completely eliminates them. But if I needed them again in the same location, I'd have to reposition it, and I'm not sure where it would be before. So the solution is Control plus H. This works for everything in Photoshop. So anything like guides or selections. So Control H hides the blue lines. Okay. If I drew a marquee or a lasso, around the Control H, you see the selection. I'll press Control H. It should do the same thing and hide it. See? And if you press it again, it's a toggle. It'll come right back. Okay, and so do the blue lines. So now let's hide everything again. Do a lasso on this and delete. Alright, no more delays. Let's zoom in to panel 1 and make sure you're on layer called Final. I zoom in with the magnifying glass icon. On a Wacom, all you need to do is touch the pen to the screen and hold, and then draw left or right, and it'll zoom in or out. Okay, I zoom in to about right there. The reason I zoom in is because when you draw at kind of this height or distance, I guess, whenever I do a brush stroke, it looks straight, but when you zoom in, you kind of see a little bit more of a jitter. And sometimes I have a shaky hand. So for some reason, for digital drawing, there's a little bit of a jitter no matter what you do. So to zoom in and then draw is the solution, and it tends to be stronger lines. Okay, so there's no right way or wrong way or where to start. I just start. So I'll probably talk through it, maybe, but I'm pretty much gonna ink anywhere. I usually start with his head. See there. And you see how you can do pen pressure. And clean up a little bit here. Maybe I'm a little too close. For some reason, this Wacom is doing jaggies. So in this panel, you have Steinway watching TV. You notice I do quick strokes when I ink and digitally. It's because the pen pressure kind of replicates a brush. So if I draw heavy, it will look heavy. But if I draw quick, see how it naturally pinches at the end like a brush? There you go. You can check on your drawing by using the navigator tool. And that's window, and then look for navigator, which is already checked. Usually it'll pop here. See this thing that I'm pulling, this little triangle that you see moving left to right? That controls the zoom view as well. So you can take a wider view or closer view. The red up there pretty much shows you the field of view. You can grab it by just putting your cursor on top, grabbing the red and moving it to wherever you want to focus on. See? Alright, let's continue. I tend to draw using thick and thin line. Tends to add a little bit more interest in the drawing. for me anyways, when they're not monotonous. The lines, that is. Alright. Let's put a curly Q for his elbow. If you happen to hear funny sounds, my window's open and I'm near an airport. There's the iconic 0. 0 was the number I picked for my softball team. I worked at Disney. Ooh, that's more tidbit than I needed to say, probably. Ever since, I've used 00 as my number, but for some reason, I just used 0 for Frank. I mean Steinway. Even I get confused. Also notice I tend to do Control Z, which is undo. That's one of the, I guess, perks of having digital digital drawing tool. You can mess up all you want, and you can keep erasing without having the nightmare of redrawing it over and over again, which I used to have when I drew traditionally. Now, you can call it a cop-out, but for me, it was about efficiency, and I was very impatient. So if I had to redraw something, I pretty much gave up on it. With this, I tend to finish stuff more often. Alright. Drawing the TV. There are tons of shortcut keys that I'm using right now. I won't delve into them, just the most important ones that I use. I'll probably have a tutorial for that as well, but that gets boring, so I try to do it while I'm drawing. Alright, see what I'm doing here? I'm completing the drawing outside the border and closing everything. This will come in to play on the next tutorial, which is coloring. And for all you Photoshop users out there, you already know what I'm getting at. Yes, the fill tool. Okay. So make sure lines are closed. Alright. There's Steinway. Actually, hold on for a second, guys. I'm gonna fix a hardware issue. Make it a little bit more firm. Except yeah, okay, that's better. I was having a little thicker thin issue with the pen, so I made the brush tip, there you go, made the brush tip a little harder, so that means I gotta press on the pen just a little bit more to get the line I want to be thicker. Otherwise it stays thin, which is what I like. You want to have thinner lines inside. You don't want the same line all the way through. That really is boring. Kills the drawing for me. Might as well be drawing with a marker. Alright, there you go. A bowl of chips. I didn't say Ebola chips. I said a bowl of chips. Let's get this paranoia nonsense out of here. Okay. I guess with these streaming things, I might as well have like a talk show, right? While I'm drawing. Alright. Panel 1's done. And let's do panel 2. Zoom in. I'm going to go a little bit quicker, guys. Just because I got the pen where I want. And I really know what I'm doing now. So at this point, just watch. See if you have any question. Just let me know. This is the magic of digital inking. You never run out of ink. You never have to dip. And your speed really increases. See the variation of lines? That comes from just making sure the brush is thick or thin through pressure. Alright. You say it looks effortless? Well, it is. But I've been doing this for a long time. Just like when I'm totally mystified when I see a piano player who's been doing it for a while. Make it look so easy. Then I play and I sound like I'm destroying the piano. If you can't ink as smoothly, if you're trying to see if you can follow along and it's not looking the way you want, well, it takes a little practice, so you may have to get comfortable with your brush or your pen at least to do your strokes smoothly. One trick, or at least one thing I tell people who are drawing, especially the ones who draw on pen and paper, is try not to put your hand onto the table or the paper and draw that way. Try to use your arm to draw. So if you can, if I could show you here. Let me go real quick. Right. See my hand? When I draw, I tend to let my hand kind of glide over the surface. This limits where your hand can go. So if my hand was fully on the table or the tablet, my range for moving left and right, that's it. I can't go anymore. See that? But if my hand was out here, see it? I can literally make circles. Little things like this are just for details, right? Big strokes, let your hand glide and let your arm do the drawing. Alright? Alright, that's good. Okay. Now that the camera back. Oh, we made a total mess. Not to worry. That's where control Alt Z comes in. Steps back, steps back. First, let me make sure I'm there. Steps back, steps back. There you go. Press the wrong button. Boom, boom, boom. Back to normal. Alright, back to the drawing. I think the default for stepping back is either 10, 20. You can set it for more, but it takes a little bit more memory. So, unless you prepare for your computer to slow down, I don't recommend it, but to be honest, most computers nowadays are so fast. Okay. Draw that couch behind them. Anything outside the border doesn't really matter. That will be erased later, and you'll see it. Okay, remember the rotate tool from the previous tutorial? Now we're going to use it. Let's draw Frank or Dracula. Comfortably asleep. Normally drawings like this, for me, for ink, take just inking. Probably take, I don't know, over an hour at least. There you go. Let's get some Z's. It's a cool thing about drawing upside down Z's. You really don't know if they're upside down, because they look the same upside down. Okay. Most people have problems drawing hands and feet. We're gonna do a tutorial on that in the future, but for the time being, there you go. See, I'm using basic shapes again. Basically ellipses, curves, cylinders. That's all they really are. To accentuate certain shapes after a while, or not accentuate, exaggerate, to add a little bit more detail. Alright. This is tux. Close the boxes. All that'll make their appearance in tutorial 4. Alright. See how the thick and thin really come in handy? Let me reverse it. There you go. These are the shadows. And I'll add more detail to it later in the painting stage. Time being, there's Frank. Draw the rest of the cow. Close it up. Right there. Okay. Now I'm going to show you something cool about digital drawing. You're going to take frame 1. Since it's the same pose, why waste your time redrawing something that's pretty much to say. I use the Lasso Tool, or L for lasso. Press it on the key. And then draw a selection around the first panel. Then press Ctrl J, or duplicate the layer. Same thing. Boom. It's been duplicated. You'll notice he got a little bit darker. It's because there's two layers there now, one on top of the other. I'm going to grab the top one by pressing Shift first, then pressing the pen on the panel and holding, and now I'm going to drag to the right. Look at that. Duplicate is done. From this point, we change what we need to change and finish the drawing. So some people will say this is a cheat. Well, you're right, it's a cheat. But if you're trying to draw a strip every other day or every day, trust me, you do it too. You change the necessary items depending on the trace. So this time you're saying something and use a little bit. There you go, because that's all that really changed. Alright, from here, you inspect, and then see this layer up here, which I created actually create a white panel border by selecting around the panels, and then I'm going to create a little box above. Oh, I already did one. It's called gutter. Never mind. Delete it. Gutter basically is just white paint that I put in between borders. So what I did was select around the panel, and then filled it with white, which then creates or fills all these little spots here. So you'll see. I'll fill it. You can be as messy as you want, and then afterwards just hide what you need to. And there you have it. The comic strip is now inked, and we will go to the next stage, which is painting. Alrighty, hope you guys learned. Give me a send me some email if you have any questions, have any comments. Am I too boring? Do I need music behind this? Let me know. Alright, till then, we'll see you next time.